Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2022 Hyundai Venue Limited. Up front is a 1.6 liter inline 4 and down below is an IVT. Now I am super excited to be driving this Hyundai Venue for the sole reason is the fact that I have never driven one before. I think they're really interesting looking. I think they're kind of weird and quirky, and I don't see a whole lot of them. So I'm excited to do a deep dive on it today. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind-the-scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter under the hood. Well, Hyundai/Kia use this engine in a majority of their base model vehicles. It's nothing special. It makes 121 horsepower, which doesn't knock me out of my chair, but it's also not the biggest slouch in the world. I'll talk about this more with my final thoughts, but this car is really, really good at just being a car. And that engine really reinforces that fact. It's an engine that works, and that's all it needs to do. Now, like I said, paired to it is an IVT, which is the same thing as a CVT. Hyundai just likes its cool, fancy verbiage to sound interesting. IVT means intelligent variable transmission instead of continuously variable transmission. It's the same flippin' thing. It's fine. It's doing the job. I'm not going to complain about it. Now, the IVT was the only transmission option for 2022. However, for 21 and 20, you could actually find this in a 6-speed manual. So if anyone has a 6-speed manual Hyundai Venue, I would love to check it out. Last but not least about the drivetrain is the fact that the Venue is front-wheel drive. And given the fact that this is kind of a compact crossover hatchback type of thing, I would have liked to have seen all-wheel drive as an option, just because it does have a little bit extra ride height. That would have been nice. However, I can't complain. How does it feel to actually drive the Venue? I actually really like it. Again, it's not fast, it's not sporty, it's not gonna carve up a canyon, but all of the ergonomics of this car make sense. It's easy to see out of, it's easy to get in and out of. The steering is heavy enough, not too light, not too heavy. The throttle response is terrible, but again, I don't expect that out of a car like this. I can get in this car and drive it pretty comfortably within a couple of minutes, and that's what I like to see. But that's out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. And then that screen in the middle, I do get some customization. I can cycle through a couple things that I'm showing here. Nothing really too insane or incredible, but it's nice that at least you get some type of customization for the information you want to see. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my voice commands, mode, volume, skip track, and phone options. And then off to the right, I have my cruise control as well as my pages in that center gauge cluster that we just talked about. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is pretty nice. It is wrapped in leather, has this nice white stitching to match the exterior, and I have no complaints. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, again finished in the exterior color. And then I have my gauge dimmer switch, lane keep assist, and traction control off. Moving out of the door, I have my power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Nothing else to report. Moving into the center, I do get a little media display, and I like this a lot. This does use Hyundai's run-of-the-mill system, so if you've driven one Hyundai with this system, you've pretty much driven them all. And I do like the fact that it has a decent backup camera. I do have navigation, and of course Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And although this is a smaller entry-level car, this does come with these sounds of nature features. So you can click on this and scroll through a couple of different sounds, like this is the warm fireplace, or the snowy village. I don't know if you can hear that. Like feet crunching in the snow, which actually sort of fits on a day like today. The reason that's interesting to me is because that's normally reserved for upper tier, if not top trim Kia products. But here in the Hyundai Venue, it's right there. No huss or fuss. Then we do have some buttons for the radio down below, some physical buttons, I should say, which I really like. I like physical buttons in cars. Speaking of which, Down below, we have our climate controls, more physical buttons. I really love this center fan speeds. I like that digital look to it, and then I have temperature off to the left and my actual fan speed control off to the right. Then I do have a USB 12-volt outlet and USB charger specific, although these are traditional USBs and not USB-Cs, and a nice little coin cubby. Then I have the shifter itself. Again, the shifter is surrounded in white, which reflects the exterior of this vehicle, and the shifter itself looks and feels great. I actually don't mind it at all. I think it's relatively handsome and it does the job for sure. However, down below that, we do have our heated seat options and our drive modes. So I can put it into normal, sport, or snow, which the snow is actually helpful getting this out of Paul's driveway this morning. And of course, sport mode's gonna liven it up. Then we do have 2 cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Hyundai Venue. And unfortunately, however predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then I do get a little center console and the seats. The seats are decently comfortable. They don't have any specific markings on them besides this interesting white stripe. Not sure why Hyundai decided to put their time and effort into that, but I'm not complaining. It does the job. They're heated, and on this cold day, I can't ask for anything more. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2022 Hyundai Venue Limited, and actually it's almost like a reverse optical illusion because it looks tiny back here, but it actually really isn't. My knees don't hit the seat in front of me, my head doesn't hit the ceiling. Again, much like the driving feel, it works. It actually feels like it was designed to fit human beings. And you might be laughing at that, but there's a lot of cars that I drive that don't feel like they were designed with arms and legs and heads and shoulders and knees and toes, even in the same conversation. They were designed for either pugs or grizzly bears, and there isn't much of a middle ground. So this actually feels like it was designed like I could ride back here, and I would very happily ride back here, and that's really hard to find in vehicles in this segment. Speaking of space, however, let's go hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Hyundai Venue. Little popper down here. And once we are in the back, you have cargo space. You can pull this up. You do get a spare tire and actually tons more space down there, which is really, really cool to see. Really, really nice. You can actually fit a decent amount of stuff back there. The reason I say that so, haphazardly is that, the rest of this car, it functions as a car. It's nothing special, and the cargo space really reinforces that as well. This is the space where you put your luggage and groceries, and that's it. Here it is. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is what really drew me, interestingly enough, to the Hyundai Venue. I remember seeing this car about 2 years ago when they first debuted, and I looked at it because it didn't look like anything on sale in the US. It looked like a foreign market vehicle. And so when I didn't see a Mexican or Canadian license plate on the back, I immediately rushed home and Googled what the heck this thing was. I didn't even know this thing existed, and I still don't see a whole lot of them on the road, but I really like the way it looks. I think it looks interesting. It looks different. Like I said, if you would have stuck like a Peugeot or a Renault or a Dacia badge on this thing, I would have thought it was imported from Europe by some diplomat, but no. This is an American market vehicle, and that to me was fascinating enough to warrant a video. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Hyundai Venue? Well, first of all, I want to talk about the name Venue because I find it hilarious. Hyundai usually uses a location as their vehicle names. The Santa Fe is a place. Santa Cruz is a place. Kia also does this with the Telluride, Kia Rio. And so when naming this car, they said, we normally name things after a place. Well, let's just call it the Venue because the actual definition of a venue is just a place. That's like if Mazda unveiled their next car and called it the Mazda Digit. I think it's pretty funny. But my actual final thoughts is that this is a car and it's very good at being just a car. You see, the owners purchased this vehicle because they were in a pinch. They needed a car. And this fit their budget, it fit their requirements for what they needed out of a car, and so they bought it. Like I said, it's easy to get in and out of, it's easy to drive, it's easy to see out of. The engine works, the headlights illuminate the road in front of me. It does all of the necessary things that a modern car should do. Gets me from point A to point B, and occasionally on the weekends over to point C. And I think it's really, really good at that. Was I extremely excited to drive this for the driving experience itself? No, but I knew what I was getting myself into. I don't expect this to have the acceleration of a Ferrari and handle like a Miata. You have to set your expectations in reality. And so if you need a car to go to a place and you only have a few $1,000s, well, here you go. It's not going to upset you, not going to fill you with joy either. It's just going to work. It's an appliance filling an application, and that's it. I guess the Venue name starts to make sense because it is just a standard place. Huge thank you to Paul for letting me take out his Venue. I've driven a couple of his vehicles today that you'll see on the channel a little bit later on. Paul has been absolutely awesome to work with, and his wife is lovely as well. She does a bulk of the driving in this car, so I have to thank her too. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.